It's time to lock in. We're talking SEC, college football, and more. This is AP as we see it.
I'm all about that action. I'm all about that action. I'm all about that action. I said I'm all about that action.
I'm AP Stedham from LA, Lower Alabama. This is AP as we see it, a weekly syndicated show discussing the Southeastern Conference, college football, on the national scene, and other sports. Welcome to another edition of AP as we see it. And we'd like to direct you, our audience, to our sponsors right now, Greer's Markets, 29 locations, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, serving the Gulf Coast and beyond. We have Lucy's Famous Recipes, which you can find her book online and also in the stores. You can purchase that book, but you can find those recipes online as well. Remember, family, friends, and football is a winning tradition at Greer's, where you can score big savings and on fresh meats, produce, and more game day spreads. Remember, SEC football, all the basketball, the men's sports, the women's sports, when you're having those parties, you can click on the groceries to go to have those things delivered to you at home or your office or the venue of your choice. And remember, they have the apples for students, so register your school and you'll be eligible for the free supplies for your school. I know they'll appreciate it. With the Thanksgiving upon us, check the online specials. Those will be sensational for you and your family, your family and friends. They have the coloring contest for children. And remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. We'd also like to direct you to Robertsdale Dental Care, 251-947-3636. Dr. Jason Northcutt. Not only are basic services offered by Jason Northcutt, but he has developed a niche within the practice, providing comprehensive dental implant services such as single implants, bone grafting, and full mouth reconstruction. Dr. Jason Northcutt has been highly trained in those disciplines to offer comfortable and long-lasting solutions to major dental problems. So come by and see Dr. Jason Northcutt and his staff. 251-947-3636. And you can see all of our sponsors and our show, welcome you to our show on the ticker, which is presented on our YouTube channel, which we're going to mention here in a minute at AP as we see it, but also the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, downtown Atlanta, spacious rooms. They have the beautiful pool with the tropical serene setting and right downtown in the heart of Atlanta. They have the restaurants, the gift shops, the outstanding breakfast and buffet. There's the lounge, and they cook to order on the weekends for your breakfast. I've had it many, many times, and that's my choice when I stay in the big city of Atlanta. We'll be there for the SEC football championship game. Ben Jacquemour and his staff, they display all the hospitality that you would ever wish for when you're staying at a hotel property. So check out Ben Jacquemour and his staff, the Cortland Grand Hotel in downtown Atlanta. And we'd just like to refer our audience also to our social media platforms, as I mentioned earlier, our YouTube channel every week at AP as we see it, and also have my YouTube channel at AP Stedham. There's some interviews there, but we're covering all these events throughout the country, all those interviews and various photos, and we're trying to capture all the pageantry of college football and the other sports. It's on our Facebook page, our Instagram. The links are there on our X account, and the broadcast is archived on Spotify every week at AP as we see it, and at my personal social media platforms at AP Stedham. So check out our social media platforms so you can keep abreast of all the happenings and all the interviews in our show on a weekly basis. We'd also like to make mention of our guest that we're going to have this week. First time she's going to be with us, Cierra Clark. She's the host of SECT on SEC Unfiltered, and she's has quite a few opinions and observations and thoughts about the Southeastern Conference and college football in general. So we're going to welcome her for segments 2 and 3. And so make sure you take a listen to Cierra Clark, the host of SECT on SEC Unfiltered. We like to, every week we kind of start out the show with the poll from the Football Writers Association and National Football Foundation, my Super 16, all the teams that I selected. So we're just going to go through that. Ohio State number 1, Indiana number 2, Texas A&M 3, Georgia 4, Oregon 5, Ole Miss 6. We have OU 7. We have Alabama 8. We have Notre Dame, Texas Tech, BYU, Texas, Vanderbilt, USC, Georgia Tech, and Miami in that order. So that's my specific poll that I submit every week by Sunday morning to the Football Writers Association of America, National Football Foundation Super 16 poll. And we can see that some teams moved down, Alabama with the loss to Oklahoma. We'll discuss. The buys this week, we have Ole Miss has a bye, and so does Mississippi State. Mississippi State and Ole Miss will be getting ready for that Egg Bowl the following week, big rivalry week. But we want to go over the college football playoff rankings that come around every week as well. Ohio State number 1, Indiana number 2. We have Texas A&M number 3, Georgia number 4, Texas Tech 5, Ole Miss 6, Oregon 7, Oklahoma 8. Notre Dame 9, Alabama 10, BYU 11, Utah 12, Miami 13, Vandy 14, USC 15, Georgia Tech 16, Texas 17, Michigan 18, Virginia 19, Tennessee 20, Illinois 21, Mizzou 22, 23 is Houston, and 24 is Tulane, and 25 is Arizona State. So we had a little bit of a we're going to have a little bit of discussion with Cierra about the poll itself. I was questioning Notre Dame's position in the poll. Not that they shouldn't be highly ranked, but it's just a spot of that particular team, the Fighting Irish. But they have a lot of political cachet through the years. One of the top names in college football, of course. And whether it's consciously or subconsciously, you might tend to say that they get the benefit of the doubt sometimes. In some instances, I think in this instance they did. But anyway, we have 10 games this week, and we're going to discuss a few right now. The first game that we have on schedule, the game number 1 that we have, is a Sun Belt team, Coastal Carolina, 6-4, 5-2 in their conference. They're taking on South Carolina. South Carolina's 3-7, 1-7 in the conference. This series is 2-0 in favor of South Carolina. South Carolina coming off that horrific loss, 31-30 on the road to Texas A&M. They were ahead 30-3 at halftime. And they didn't score any points in the second half after scoring 30 through some turnovers that Texas A&M made. And I always give credit to the other team as well. I mean, it wasn't like they just gave them the ball, but South Carolina earned those turnovers. They're averaging the 20 points. We know they have trouble. They scored 30 on the road and they lost. They're giving up only 23 on the defensive side. Coastal Carolina scores 25 and they give up 29 points. So this should be a win for South Carolina. Play the Coastal Carolina out of the Sun Belt Conference. Game number 2, we have Kentucky, which is 5-5, 2-5. They have a streak of 3 games. They're coming off a win over Tennessee Tech, and that's 42-10. Tennessee Tech was undefeated, by the way. And they're playing Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt 8-2, 4-2 in the conference. They had a bye. This series is in favor of Kentucky, 48-44, and 4 ties. Vanderbilt's a 9.5-point favorite. They're really trying to complete this magical season to get to 10 games by beating Kentucky at home, and then Tennessee is on the road. But Vanderbilt's scoring a healthy 38 points a game, giving up 22. Kentucky surrenders 23, scores 25 points a game. So Diego Pavia and company, they're trying to keep the hopes alive of being in the playoffs. I think it's a real long shot at this point. Some crazy things would have to happen with all these teams, not only in the conference, but around the country. But Vanderbilt's a good football team, solid defense, excellent offense. They have the outstanding leader, Diego Pavia. We know that he's magical. I've said that many times. And Kentucky trying to get bowl eligible. They have Vanderbilt on the road and then their rival Louisville next week. So it would be big for Kentucky to reach that 6-game bowl eligible limit right now. But I think it's going to be a tough task. Vanderbilt's really on a mission this entire season. And I think at home, this is their last home game. I just think they're going to win this ball game. I don't know if it's going to be by 9.5 points or more, but I think Vanderbilt will prevail unless they just give the ball away. And Vanderbilt is actually .20 positive, 50th in the country in turnovers. Kentucky, on the other hand, is minus .40, 100th in the country. So that's how it stands with the Kentucky Vanderbilt game. The third game, Tennessee, 7-3. 3-3 in the conference. They're a 3.5 point favorite, ranked number 20th in the college football playoff rankings. Traveled to Gainesville, Florida, 3-7, 2-5 in the league. Tennessee coming off that 42-9 win over New Mexico State. Florida coming off that road loss against Ole Miss, 34-24. This series stands, believe it or not, 32 games for Florida, 22 losses. Florida has the edge in this series. I thought that was surprising, but I guess that's because of the probably Steve Spurrier era. Florida don't score very many points, 20 points, give up 23. Tennessee with the big average, 43 points a game, but they surrendered 28. So I think it's going to be a competitive ball game. Tennessee's trying to finish out the season. I don't think they got a chance for the playoffs, kind of like with Vanderbilt. They're going to be facing the Commodores next week. So that'll be an excellent rivalry game between the Commodores and the Volunteers in the state of Tennessee. But first, Tennessee has to go down and take care of business in Gainesville with the interim coach, Billy Gonzalez, and Josh Heupel, of course, is at the helm for Tennessee. So we're going to be right back with our guest, Cierra Clark of the SECT on SEC Unfiltered. So we'll be right back after these messages with AP as we see it.
Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it.
Hi, I'm AP Stedham with Dr. Northcutt of Robertsdale Dental Care.
AP, not only do we offer basic full-service dental treatment, but I also have developed a niche within the practice where I provide comprehensive dental implant services, such as single implants, bone grafting, and full mouth reconstruction. I've been highly trained in those disciplines to offer comfortable and long-lasting solutions to major dental problems.
Come by and see Dr. Northcutt at Robertsdale Dental Care. And we're back with AP as we see it, and we have a very special guest. First time on our show. We're delighted to have her. She's the host of SECT on SEC Unfiltered, Cierra Clark. Hey, Cierra, welcome to AP as we see it.
Hi, AP. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we love people with opinions and who have strong opinions, but particularly, and I noticed you over the course of these last several months. So I thought it'd be interesting to have you, especially with all these openings for coaches. And I think people are waiting. It's like a domino effect because no one has taken the fall yet, except James Franklin. Yeah. With Virginia Tech right now. And I believe it or not, Cierra, I saw him lose in the Rose Bowl to UCLA.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that UCLA would have been a great place for him, except he lost to UCLA.
That's a good
right?
point.
Because he could have won 9 and 10 games at some point, I believe, which is what you need in the Big Ten. And that would have been perfect. They would have erected a statue for him somewhere in Los Angeles, but anyhow, so I know you're up in Arkansas right now. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, so you have a name for us for Arkansas, or a couple of candidates you prefer, maybe, or the fans prefer, let's say.
Well, you already hit on my first candidate, but he's already taken. That was James Franklin, and a lot of Hog fans really did want him. Some were saying, "Well, he could not win the big games," and I was like, "You guys don't win any games.
Haven't gotten to the big game." Yeah.
Beggars really can't be choosers there, but that was my number one pick for Arkansas just because of his experience and all of that. But now he's obviously taken. So I really like Eric Morris from North Texas. The North Texas Mean Green, they have the best offense in the American Athletic Conference, and he's really known for developing quarterbacks. He's a younger guy who's someone that Arkansas really hasn't had a younger coach in a while.
Right.
The one that's being thrown around on these other SEC programs is John Summerall at Tulane. He's a proven builder, and also just he's very his teams always play very physical. But what's really big for me for Arkansas is they need to hire someone who has had head coaching experience. Their previous coach, Sam Pittman, did not have that. He was a longtime offensive line coach at Georgia and at Arkansas. So he wasn't even like an offensive coordinator. He was just like an offensive line coach. And ironically enough, the offensive lines during his tenure at Arkansas really weren't that great. And then before him, they had Chad Morris, no relation at all to Eric Morris. Chad Morris is probably the worst college football coach I think of all time, because he had no head coaching experience except for a few years at SMU, where he maybe won like 7 games, like 2 years he was there. It wasn't really that impressive, but he was on the Clemson staff as an offensive analyst and whatnot. And so that was really big. He guys had that Clemson brand under his belt. And that's what brought him to Arkansas during that era before Sam Pittman. And they did not win a single SEC game. They were getting blown out by Group of 5 schools like Western Kentucky. And so he had to go. So a big thing for me is I would like Arkansas to hire someone who has proven themselves as a head coach and knows how to manage a team, especially now these days. Having a head coach that also knows how to be a general manager is huge.
Yeah, someone who can evaluate talent. That's crucial in this day and age, because you are a professional team and everyone has money. They claim they don't, but we know they do, Cierra. We know they do.
Yeah.
But who should get the money? That's the important question. And if you're a place like Texas, let's say, and that's Arkansas's opponent this weekend, they've been selecting players for 20 years and they have not done well. So that's been Achilles heel for them. But Arkansas, like everyone, needs a general manager or a person on the staff that can evaluate talent. And it sounds like he's familiar with the area right there in Denton, Texas.
Yes.
The coach in North Texas. So he's familiar with, and you must recruit Texas heavily. That's Arkansas's been their best recruiting fertile country for them for the last 50 years. So It sounds like he might be an option that's worthwhile. Yeah, it sure does. Now, the other school that you like to follow is the University of Florida, because you're from the state of Florida.
Gator
and
head.
so, Gator, there you go. Do you have somebody in mind besides the obvious? And you can explain the obvious as well.
To be honest, so I went to University of Florida, so I'm very passionate about this. But myself and other Gator fans, we only have one person that we want, and that is Lane.
What's that? Right.
There were rumors, or it was reported that John Summerall was being interviewed by the University of Florida actually today, and Gator fans were not happy about that. And this is no dig to John Summerall at all, but Gator fans want somebody who has been a head coach at a Power 4 program. That was an issue with Billy Napier. It's like, okay, he was at Louisiana Lafayette. He won there. Like, he did decent at that school, but going from there to Florida was a huge change. And I think that's even a similar situation with Mike Norvell at Florida State, or as Florida fans like to call the school out west. But, they have also won national championships in this millennium, and they hired him from Memphis. And, his first year to there, where they won the ACC and all of that, people were like, yeah, this is the guy. But then they really haven't proven much there. So Florida fans really want someone who is experienced at that Power 4 level. And Lane Kiffin has all the experience in the world. And not only that, but he has proven that you can win at a place that hasn't seen a ton of success in college football.
Yes.
He's had multiple straight 10-win seasons and has brought so much attention to the University of Mississippi, like Alabama as well. You notice when schools start to do really well in football, they get a lot more applicants, especially from out of state. So there are kids from, like, I was in Oxford this past weekend, and there are people from all over the country, the Northeast even, that go to Ole Miss because of what Lane Kiffin has built there. And on top of that, he has managed the NIL thing so well. The Grove Collective is the one that's at Ole Miss, and they know what they're doing down there. Lane also has an extreme eye for talent. He can develop quarterbacks. Like their quarterback now, Trinidad Chambliss, who was their backup. He came from Ferris State, a Division II school in Michigan. He's from Michigan, and he got him to come to Oxford, Mississippi. that just shows, and now he's an absolute star and is going to a college football playoff appearance. That just shows what Lane Kiffin is able to do. He's also, I saw a graphic about this online, that Ole Miss, their football team, has the highest amount of players that are from places that are furthest away from Ole Miss. So Lane can recruit anyone to come to Oxford, Mississippi. So if he were to come to Florida, and this is no dig to Ole Miss at all, but Florida, bigger state, bigger school, bigger alumni base with more money. And also it gives you access to those recruiting hotbeds in places like Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, where I'm from, Tampa. Florida just in its own has so much talent. And then you're not far from Georgia either. And so Lane has that opportunity to recruit just in his in that area if he were to come to Florida. So that is another reason why Florida fans want him. And of course, for years, he has idolized Steve Spurrier. He's someone he's looked up to. I mean, he wears the visor just like him. And also Lane's ex-wife, the mother of his 3 kids, who she actually moved to Oxford for their family. She's a Florida grad, and her dad was a coach at Florida. He was on the staff there with Spurrier, and it just makes sense for them to come back home to Florida for Gator fans.
Oh, yeah. He's a quarterback legend. He's born in Alabama, Albertville, Alabama. But when he was 10, he moved down to, I think he was a star at Robinson in Tampa. So he's a big star with Carlos Alvarez, the Cuban Comet, and John Reeves, quarterback for Florida, legend there, and high draft choice of the Philadelphia Eagles. So, yeah, she has roots there as well. I wanted to ask you, we got about 2 minutes in this segment. His best wins that I can gather in the SEC, I think, was Georgia last year. That was an 18-point win over Georgia. And this year, of course, he beat Oklahoma on the road. That was big. And then he beat Tulane, who Tulane is ranked now. So, but I think that he's on the cusp. We're going to find out, making this playoff, if he stays with the team, if he can compete in the big arena.
Yes, and that's the thing with Lane Kiffin in the past. You know, he hasn't been able to win those big games like beating Alabama. But now that there's no divisions, it's Ole Miss seems like they got a pretty favorable schedule. And now it was like, okay, well, Ole Miss has a favorable schedule, but they need to beat those good teams that they're playing up against. So they lost to Georgia, but in the eyes of the committee, that is probably a good loss because they lost in Athens, but their win in Norman over Oklahoma was huge, because when that happened, people had written off Oklahoma, especially after they lost to Texas in Dallas. And John Mateer, their quarterback, had thumb surgery. He didn't look like himself. It seemed like people really wrote off this Oklahoma team. But this past weekend, they beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa at night. And that was like, oh, this Oklahoma team has come back to life. They're not dead yet. They are still in the running to be in the college football playoff. And so Ole Miss beating that Oklahoma team looks really good for the Rebels, because they did that in Norman. And it's like, oh, Ole Miss can win on the road as well. And they'll also be tested this weekend when they go to this next weekend when they go to Starkville to play their rival Mississippi State, which is not an easy place to play, especially with those Cowboys.
No, so I saw him say Tennessee to an overtime. But anyway, we're going to be right back in the next segment with the host of SECT on SEC Unfiltered, Cierra Clark. So we'll be right back after these messages with AP as we see it.
Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it.
And we're back with AP as we see it in our very special guest, Cierra Clark, the host of SECT on SEC Unfiltered. And Cierra, we're going to continue this discussion, of course, about the Southeastern Conference. But first, we want to just look at this playoff, college football playoff, which a decision is forthcoming. I believe it's December the 1st. And there's two conferences that are kind of battling right now. The SEC prefers the 5-11 model, the 5 conference championships with 11 at large. The Big Ten is 4-4-4-2-2-1-3. And you say, what is that? That's 4 automatic for the SEC, Big Ten, 2 for the Big 12, 2 for the ACC, 1 for Notre Dame, 1 for the non-power 4, and then 3 at large, which I guess Notre Dame fits that category. So do you have a preference that it's 12 right now? Do you have a preference of keeping it at 12 or going to 16? And maybe what type of playoff?
I think a 12-team playoff personally was kind of on the bigger side. When it was a 4-team playoff, I think that was a little bit too small.
Right.
8 would have been a nice sweet spot, but 12 I can settle for. But it seems like now, AP, that we're trying to find teams to fill out that spot. Like the ACC, it's like, okay, like we're not really sure who is the dominant team in the ACC.
Yes.
Like gone are the days where it was Clemson and Florida State dominating the league. It's not like that anymore. And then with the SEC, I'm sure they will get a lot more teams in there. But then there's the group of 5 angle. And it's like, why are we putting in a team that hasn't really done that much? I mean, we can look at Tulane, that looks like the P5 school that a lot of people are looking at, and they beat Western, they beat Duke, but they were killed by Ole Miss. And it's like, okay, like why are we letting a G5 school in when they haven't really beaten anyone? Last year was Boise State, which a team that people really wanted. A lot of that was because of their star running back, Ashton Genty. And then what really triggered all of this, in my opinion, was UCF, which I'm a proclaimed UCF hater because I'm from Orlando. I went to Florida and I was there when they were campaigning for their national championship, fake national championship.
Yeah.
If you're listening on the radio, I'm using air quotes.
Yes.
They went pretty much like they went undefeated that year, but they didn't play anymore. And so that's the thing with the G5. I think it's good that they're giving them a seat at the table, but you still have to prove yourself like everybody else. And it's like, okay, well, you're not letting Missouri in the playoffs, but if they were a G5 school, they would probably be looked at. So it's a really weird situation. And so I think when it comes to the playoff, it should be a 12-team playoff, and the top 4, or rather the conference champions, they should be automatic bids. And also people should not be punished for finishing first runner-up at the SEC, ACC, Big 12 championship, in my opinion. I think if you play in the championship game, you should not be punished for it. But, now there's really a lot of nuance to it. It's like, okay, well, let's say if these 2 teams play in the SEC championship, but one gets clobbered, are we putting them in the playoff or not? So it's a lot of nuance.
Yeah, that's a good point. The third loss, let's say Alabama, project them. I'm using them as the example. The third loss, they would have the very bad loss against Florida State, and they lost to Oklahoma, and then a third loss. And you have Oklahoma would be ahead of them, probably Ole Miss, Georgia, Texas A&M. And if BYU is into this equation by beating Texas Tech, you take BYU and Texas Tech, plus you have a big ball game this week, USC and Oregon. Does USC become that 4th team in the Big Ten? Alabama, I recommend winning the rest of their games. That's what I would recommend for Alabama. I wouldn't get caught with that third loss.
Yes, I think if they get that third loss, they're out. And that's another thing with this proposed Big Ten model, is they want all of these other teams to get automatic bids. And it's like the Big Ten, in my opinion, is not strong enough to have those 4 automatic bids. It's just not. It's Ohio State. Oregon isn't that strong this year. Now, Indiana, I'm very intrigued by, but I'd like to see them play more competitive teams. And then usually Penn State is up there, but this is clearly a down year for them. So 4 teams is just a lot for one conference to just let them into the playoff.
I think it's the best of a volatile situation, because I thought last year the SEC should have 3. That's all. I didn't think those other teams were worthy, and 3 teams from the SEC was fine. So I think if you balance it, last year 3 teams from the SEC, this year they're teetering on 4 with the Big Ten, as you said. So I think that's the best of a volatile situation by Tony Petitti, the Big Ten commissioner, and you get all your money. You get at least 4 slots for your conference. And 2 teams out of the ACC this year. I mean, that could be disastrous, actually.
And it's also not really fair, in my opinion, what the Big Ten is proposing, because it's like, okay, why is the Big Ten and the SEC getting 4 teams and Big 12's not? Maybe it's because they have more teams in the Big Ten or whatever. There's like 30 teams in the conference now.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think it's 18 now. I think it's 18 Big Ten.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And the ACC, I think, is 16, if you include Notre Dame to some degree, 17, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think, Cierra, to answer your question, why has this evolved into this situation where these 2 big conferences have total command and the other conferences acquiesce to this power? Money. That's the answer. Any question when you're trying to figure out why they're letting because money. Because I think if you don't if you're not inclusive, then the government gets involved. And then you don't want that to happen. So if you say, all right, we're going to include everybody, or at least give them an opportunity to earn a berth, even though it's, like you said, like Tulane's the 24th team in this current college football poll. I think it's the money, and they don't want to have anybody delving into their business. I believe that's the answer.
Absolutely. And that's why they give grace to teams like Notre Dame, because the brand of the Fighting Irish is huge. Yes. They haven't really had a huge signature win.
No.
I mean, USC, who's not setting the world on fire this year, but it's Notre Dame. So that's
right. USC and Pittsburgh, they're probably their 2 best wins. They have the 2 losses. But I was thinking to myself, Alabama has the very bad loss to Florida State. We understand that. Lost to Oklahoma, a ranked team right now. Oklahoma is 8th in this college football playoff. But Notre Dame is ranked ahead of Alabama. And Alabama also beat Georgia. So how could you have Notre Dame ahead of Alabama when they beat Georgia and they beat Tennessee and Vanderbilt and ranked teams, and Notre Dame they just beat USC, and I think the other best win is Pittsburgh, as I said, who's not in this current poll I have in front of me. They're not in that current poll, so that's perplexing to me. If somebody can explain that to me, I would love to have that happen anyway. But so when you watch the SEC, Cierra, what's been the surprises for you this year? A couple of surprises, maybe.
Yeah, just the teams that have really emerged. Like Oklahoma had a really tough schedule this year, and now people are really looking at them like, okay, this team is pretty good. And then Ole Miss was not predicted to finish in the top of the SEC. They were around 7th ranked at the SEC Media Days in the preseason order of finish. And they have impressed a lot of people. Lots of people were saying that Ole Miss might take a step down this year because Jackson Dart left. And last year was the team for the Rebels to do it all, to win a national title, to make it to the college football playoff, because they spent so much on NIL. Ole Miss had an elite defensive line. Of course, they had an experienced quarterback in Jackson Dart, but they dropped crucial games like to Kentucky. And then when they lost to Florida at the end of the season, and in my opinion, recency bias is huge. If you are the college football playoff committee and someone loses towards the end of the season compared to the beginning of the season, I think it's like, okay, well, maybe they improved in the beginning of the season. If, let's say, Alabama, when they lost to Florida State.
Right.
If they were to have played Florida State at the end of the season, then it would be like, oh, wow, this is bad, because this is a bad Florida State team. So Ole Miss and Oklahoma are really surprising teams this year, but I'm really excited for those fan bases for sure.
Oh yeah, I think I totally agree with you. In your opinion, who is the best SEC team right now? I have a strong opinion the last month or so, but I'll tell you my choice. Georgia. They know how to win. And they win with high-scoring games, low-scoring games, good defense, bad defense, good offense, and so forth. So Georgia's the team I think to beat in that conference.
I'd have to say Texas A&M, just because they're undefeated. And we saw last weekend they had a bad game against South Carolina at home. It was just not it was just not a pretty game.
Marcel Reed
Reed came back and stormed ahead, and people are like, oh, wow, he's Heisman talk now. Like, he can really put the team on his back. And some are like, yeah, but they let the game slip away like that. But but what shows me about a team like Texas A&M is they're resilient, because they're down by so much, they're not afraid. They did not give up, and they got the win that they needed to get. And I think they still need to take care of business. They still need to beat Texas in order to get that lock in that SEC championship. But we just never know with this league. But also, Texas A&M really hasn't played a lot of tough teams as of late.
No, they have not. No.
If Georgia and Texas A&M were to be in the SEC championship, I think that would be a very interesting game, and it would show us a lot about the Aggies.
I think so. Hey, Cierra, we really appreciate your observations and your thoughts and comments. And check Cierra Clark out. She's the host of SECT on SEC Unfiltered. And thank you very much, Cierra. And we'll be right back after these messages with AP as we see it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. Hi, I'm AP Stedham with Dr. Northcutt of Robertsdale Dental Care.
AP, not only do we offer basic full-service dental treatment, but I also have developed a niche within the practice where I provide comprehensive dental implant services, such as single implants, bone grafting, and full mouth reconstruction. I've been highly trained in those disciplines to offer comfortable and long-lasting solutions to major dental problems.
Come by and see Dr. Northcutt at Robertsdale Dental Care.
And we're back with AP as we see it. And we like to thank our guest, Cierra Clark. She's with SECT on SEC Unfiltered. We really appreciate all her comments and thoughts and observations with all the ball games and coaching situations as well. And we're going to discuss a little bit about the generic coaching situations of all these schools and programs. But anyway, we want to thank our sponsors, Greer's Markets, 29 locations, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi. And remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. Check them out. Big holiday coming up, Thanksgiving, all these SEC rivalry games. You can send out for the Groceries to Go and order those online to have them be delivered as well. We'd like to thank the Robertsdale Dental Care, Dr. Jason Northcutt, 251-947-3636. You can see all those things on the bottom of our ticker on YouTube channel, and also the Cortland Grand Hotel out of Atlanta, Georgia. Ben Giacomo and their staff. Give them a call and tell them you spoke to AP. But anyhow, we're going to move on with the show. We have 7 more games to discuss. Big rivalry game that really has materialized again in the SEC with the addition of Texas. They're going to be playing Arkansas. That goes back to the old Southwest Conference days. And so Arkansas and Texas, Arkansas 2-8, 0-6, interim coach Bobby Petrino. They lost to LSU, tight ball game, 23-22. They just can't seem to win a game. They've been very close, especially with that offense scoring at 34 points a game. They're playing Texas number 17 in the college football rankings, 7-3, 4-2. The big loss to Georgia on the road, 35-10. It was not competitive. In the fourth quarter, Georgia put up 3 touchdowns on the board to take total command. So they're an 8.5-point favorite in Austin. Texas scoring 27 points a game, surrendering 18. Last week was a bad week for the defense, 35 points. Arkansas gives up 32 points a game. So I believe Texas will win this ball game. They're getting ready for the Texas A&M game the following week. So Texas concludes the season, the regular season, against 2 huge rivals that they used to compete against in the Southwest Conference, Arkansas and Texas. And we know that Arkansas for years, a staple of their program was recruiting the state of Texas. They couldn't be successful without the state of Texas, matter of fact. So this is a game that neither coach likes to lose, but especially for Steve Sarkisian, he has the better team this year, and Bobby Petrino is an interim coach, and we don't know what's going to happen there with the Razorbacks. We think there's going to be a definite change, but he's He's been the interim coach for a while now. Let's move on to the next ball game. Mizzou, number 22 in the poll versus number 8 Oklahoma. Oklahoma coming off that outstanding victory on the road against Alabama, 23-21. I just want to go back 1 second. The series between Texas and Arkansas. Interesting. 57 wins for Texas, only 23 for Arkansas in that series, dominated by the Longhorns. But anyway, Missouri versus Oklahoma. This goes back to the Big Eight, matter of fact. So this series is 67 wins for Oklahoma, 25 Missouri, 2 ties. Oklahoma number 8 in the country, Missouri 22. Missouri coming off that win against Mississippi State, 49-27. They're 7-3, 3-3 in the conference. Oklahoma 8-2 now, 4-2 in the conference. They're scoring at 28 points a game. The Sooners defensively surrendering 14 points. Mizzou surrendering 19, averaging 34 points a game. So this is going to be an excellent ball game. I think Mizzou, when they started the season, I think they were hoping for a better record than the 7-3 where they presently stand at this point of the season. But they compete against Oklahoma. They don't like each other. I can tell you that by speaking to some people out in Como. And the Sooners, there's a little bit of a bad blood dating back to the Big 12. And that's, like I said, that series has a lot of ball games involved. I guess it's nearly 100 games in that series, almost 100 games. So, but Missouri can play some good defense at time. They're 10th in the country, and believe it or not, Oklahoma's 11th. So they have 2 pretty good defenses. The offense for Oklahoma is only 87th. We know that Missouri can run the football. They have their freshman quarterback because Bo Prabula was injured, the transfer from Penn State. They're 21st in offense. But also, the turnover margin is the same, minus 0.20 for Missouri and Oklahoma as well. That's 87th in the country. So maybe some turnovers enter into the final outcome of this ball game. The next game we're going to look at is Samford out of the Southern Conference. They're 1-10, not very good, but they made the coaching change. They have an interim coach, I think. They're playing Texas A&M. Texas A&M, number 3 in the country. They're only a 55-point favorite. Back to that Oklahoma-Missouri game. Oklahoma's a 7.5-point favorite, by the way. 7.5-point favorite for the Sooners. Texas A&M is a 55-point favorite over Samford. Texas A&M 10-0, 7-0 in the conference. A wild ball game, record ball game for the Aggies. They were down 30-3 to South Carolina. Came all the way back to score 4 touchdowns. Marcel Reed and company threw for over 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. They won it 31-30. So Texas A&M, they're trying to get to this SEC championship game for the very first time. That would be monumental for Mike Elko in his second year as a head coach of the Aggies. So this game is really a warm-up. Make sure no one gets hurt and survive the ball game, win, and get some rest and get ready for that next week when they have to face the Texas Longhorns, who are not too happy in Austin over the Thanksgiving holiday. So that's the next game. Also, we have Charlotte, 1-9, 0-7 out of the American Athletic Conference, facing the Georgia Bulldogs, number 4 in the country. Georgia 9-1, 7-1, coming off that very, very impressive victory over Texas. Georgia Bulldogs 35-10. They're a 43.5-point favorite. This is the first time Charlotte and Georgia have ever played. Charlotte, they lost to University of Texas San Antonio 28-7. Georgia scoring 33 points a game, giving up 18. Charlotte scoring 16 points a game, giving up 37. So they're not very good on defense. Like I say, this is another warm-up to get ready for Georgia Tech at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta next week. So Georgia just trying to stay healthy. Gunnar Stockton, he's been very impressive in the entire season, really. So Georgia, as I said many times on this show for quite a while, Georgia is the team to beat in the SEC, even though they might not reach the SEC championship game, but they know how to win. They know how to win, except they stumbled against Alabama. Alabama had an excellent night that game and beat them. They ran the football well against Alabama, over 200 yards, I believe, but Gunnar Stockton only threw 20 passes for whatever reason. But Georgia, to me, is the team to beat, and they're probably thinking they want Alabama and Texas A&M to win, so they won't have to play in the SEC championship game. They probably won't say that aloud, but I think that's a pretty good situation for them to get healthy and get ready for the playoffs. The next game we have Eastern Illinois out of the Ohio Valley, 3-8, 2-6 in their conference. They're playing Alabama. Alabama's number 10 in the poll, coming off that very close and disappointing loss to Oklahoma. Alabama's a team that doesn't turn the ball over. They're one of the tops in the country, and Oklahoma was in the negative position with turnovers, but it was Alabama who had the turnovers to lead to points in that ball game, especially that impressive 87-yard interception return. If you had just tackled them right there at the point of the interception, or maybe 10 yards, they would have to drive the whole field. And Oklahoma's offense, it sputters. John Mateer, he makes some plays for them, and they have some excellent receivers, but they're not that consistent offensively. But anyhow. On to the next game. We have Mercer 9-1, 8-0 out of the Southern Conference, playing Auburn. Auburn's 4-6. They're 1-6 in the conference. They had a bye. They're a 31.5 point favorite against Mercer. The interesting point about this game is they're going to use the two quarterbacks, Jackson Arnold, the transfer from Oklahoma, and Deuce Knight, the freshman, the left-handed freshman out of Mississippi. They're going to sit down Ashton Daniels, the transfer from Stanford, who put up 38 points against Vanderbilt the prior week. But he's trying to preserve his redshirt situation. So that's the smart move. And that'll be interesting to watch these two quarterbacks. I think they'll both get some time playing in this ball game. Last game we have on the schedule is Western Kentucky, 8-2, 6-1 out of Conference USA. They're playing LSU. LSU leads the series 1-0. LSU 6-4, 3-4 in the conference. 22.5 point favorite. LSU beat Arkansas by 1 point, 23-22. Western Kentucky, they beat Middle Tennessee 42-26. LSU 23 points a game, surrendering 19. Western 31 points a game, surrendering 23. So LSU is trying to finish out the season. They still have to play Oklahoma. So that's the games for the SEC this week. Just like to mention one thing: the timing of all these coaching decisions that must be made. We always look at how a coach manages the clock. Clock management is so critical to the success of these teams, especially at the end of the half and the end of the ball game. But the athletic directors, they have to manage the clock as well. You have the early signing period in December. You have the transfer portal in early January, that one time. So these athletic directors, they have to give the ultimatums to these coaches on the move, particularly somebody like Lane Kiffin, if he's contemplating going to a different school. And I think you're going to see, maybe not next Friday for Thanksgiving, but within that 3 or 4 day window right after, you're going to see a lot of announcements made, because these athletic directors, they can't afford a coach to leave and take the whole team, and the coach can't afford to make a late decision, because it'll be past the transfer portal time period and the early signing. So it's critical for both sides. You might think that somebody has leverage, but you have to make a decision because of that time factor, that timeline with the high school signing early December, the first week, and the transfer portal, as well as the playoffs and everything happening. But anyhow, we'll be back next week with another episode, and we really appreciate it. Check out our social media platforms, AP as we see it on the YouTube channels and the Facebook, the Instagram, the X account, and the Spotify as well. And of course, check your local radio stations for the broadcast Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. We'll see you next week with another episode of AP as we see it.
Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it.